Welkom, Vlak 1 regulasies het maandag ingeskop. Hoeveel gaan dit die ekonomie help en is enige inperking nog regverdigbaar? Oor kan my sit Jonathan Witt, politieke kommentator, en Piet le Roux, uitvoerende hoof van Sakeliga. En Peter Castleden is op Skype. Hy is 'n aktuaris van Pandemic Data and Analytics. Jonathan, I want to start with you. The President urged us last week to accept level 1 as the new normal. This is not normal, is it?
No, this is not normal at all. We haven't been normal really since March, and in fact we shouldn't be accepting a new normal. These are rules that have no sort of sense about them. They don't seem to be combating coronavirus in any real way. They are arbitrary, and really it's not something people should be just accepting.
Piet, watter reëls van vlak 1 is volgens julle nog steeds skadelik vir die ekonomie, want baie mense was baie verlig toe vlak 1 aanbreek.
Ek dink alle reëls van vlak 1 is skadelik, omdat van Sakeliga se kant af sê ons saam in die posisie van Business for Ending Lockdown, 'n groep sakeorganisasies wat sê alle regulasies behoort omgeskakel te word in aanbevelings. En dit is die benadering wat nou na baie maande al baie duidelik gevolg moet word, naamlik dra dit oor aan verskillende mense, verskillende organisasies, verskillende besighede om in die hand van hulle risiko en hulle persoonlike omstandighede aan te pas. So al die regulasies van internasionale reise tot beperkings op kerke wat nie meer as 250 mense mag hê nie en dis meer is almal verkeerd. Nie om te sê dat mense mag nie die maatreëls neem nie, maar omdat almal gedwing word om dieselfde maatreëls te neem.
Peter, but government claims that all these rules are there for the good of all of us. They're just protecting us.
Well, I mean, that's kind of wishful thinking. We've seen now, since we've gone from level 5 to level 4 to level 3 to level 2, which seems to be surprising the government and their experts, is things keep getting better as our lockdown gets lighter. So I think if that trend continues, we should be out of lockdown completely if we really want to save lives.
Peter, I want to stay with you for a moment. Government also points to events in Europe where countries are claiming that they are experiencing second waves in infections. We're going to show a graph on the screen now that shows a huge second wave in 8 Western European countries. Many new cases declared there in the last 2-3 months, but not many new deaths. Peter, what should we learn from the European experience? We love to follow the Europeans, don't we?
Yeah, well, exactly. They're definitely setting the tone for us. So the one thing I would say is that this second wave in Europe is not a lot to be worried about. There's a lot of question marks about the false positivity rates and the testing they're doing. So to the extent there's high volumes of testing, a lot of those cases actually aren't real cases. And then a lot of the other cases are actually in the population you wouldn't really be too concerned about them getting infected, being younger, healthier people. I'm pretty convinced we're going to have a second wave here, the same kind of wave that Europe has had, and it'll be a function of increasing our testing and nothing to really be worried about, but enough for the government to keep us in fear.
So, Jonathan, if the economic damage is now proven, we saw a more than 16-point contraction in the economy quarter on quarter. Why is government persisting with even a level 1 lockdown?
I think government decided on this plan very early on, and they're convinced that this is the way to go. This was essentially the Chinese plan. There's evidence emerged that this was essentially what China wanted the world to do. And really government decided this was the route they were going to follow. And we know from government documents that in fact they've spoken about not dropping lockdown until early next year and only allowing full international travel and full open borders, etc., only coming in February. So the reality is I think they're locked in. I don't think that many of them actually understand the science. I don't think they understand viruses even 6 months in. And unfortunately, in some instances, the experts haven't advised them well.
Okay, but Jonathan, many countries have adopted what China did. And in the UK, we saw this week staggering new rules limiting social gatherings to no more than 6 people, and even the army is now being called in. Surely in that coronavirus command council, the leading lights are saying, listen, let's just do what Boris Johnson is doing.
Well, the leading lights have had conflicting statements. I saw, I'm not sure if it was yourself that tweeted out about this, that one of the experts had said earlier in the year, we need to end the lockdown and now we need to keep the lockdown. And in fact, we've never been in a better position, as Peter says, than we are right now. And that's not because of lockdown, that's because of how viruses work and spread through populations. I think Boris Johnson is very ill-informed. We know that part of what happened here was obviously the Chinese engaged in this lockdown process, and then Neil Ferguson from Imperial College released completely spurious data which has been utterly disproven. This is a man who should never be trusted with anything ever again. He's been wrong since 2001, and he released data saying, you know, millions of Americans were going to die, hundreds of thousands, 500,000 British people were going to die. We're not even close to those numbers, and I think it's good to be reminded that we're still off the Hong Kong flu of the 60s. We haven't even reached those numbers, and the world population is about a third bigger.
Piet, Sakeliga het hard gepraat oor die inperking van die begin af en hierdie afgelope naweek het jy gesê daar is 'n tweede golf wat ons nou tref, maar dis 'n mensgemaakte golf. Verduidelik?
Ja, kyk, mense kry die woord resessie of 'n depressie. Dis as dit sleg gaan met die ekonomie, maar ons het hier te doen met 'n repressie, 'n onderdrukking van die ekonomie, en dit is die tweede golf wat ons sien. Dit is die voortsetting van maatreëls wat die ekonomie knel, terwyl dit nie nodig is nie, en wat jy gaan hê is 'n permanente daling in lewensverwagting, of ek nie permanent nie, 'n langdurige daling in lewensverwagting en in lewensstandaarde. En dit gaan 'n groter effek hê as die 15,000 sterftes wat ons tot dusver gesien het.
Peter, we've seen government officials saying that many of the excess deaths that we've seen in South Africa the last few months can also be attributed to COVID-19. How plausible are those arguments?
It's guesswork at the moment. I think even the experts will admit that no one has that data. I'm personally skeptical that many of them are COVID. I think they're probably more related to the lockdown itself. Jonathan can give you some interesting data about how the other diseases we deal with every single day have been crowded out. We see TB diagnoses down, HIV down. There's been almost no cancer diagnoses. These things actually have an impact. If we live in a world where we believe our hospitals make no real difference in normal times, then we've got a real problem. And when we have hundreds of thousands of people that didn't get access to healthcare they would have otherwise, there is going to be an impact. And I think we've seen that in the excess deaths. But again, I don't have the data either. I just look at the trends and it doesn't seem to match up with how COVID behaved.
Piet, daar was die laaste paar weke protesoptogte oor staatsdienssalarisse en kliksadvertensies, maar nog nie protesoptogte op groot skaal teen inperking nie, behalwe 'n paar restaurantwerkers. Hoe verduidelik jy die publiek se geduld met hierdie 6 maande van inperking?
Ek dink aanvanklik was die publiek, soos wat die president ook geadviseer is, onder die indruk van syfers van meer as 350,000 mense sou sterf. Nou nie eens minder, nie eens 'n vyfde van dit is intussen bereik nie. 'n tiende, nog minder 'n 20ste nie. So mense was versigtig en hulle is verkeerd geadviseer gewees. En die inperking was so erg, en ek dink die verligting deesdae is so groot dat mense geneig is om net te probeer om nou aan die gang te bly en te red wat te redde is. Ons sien weg agter in baie plekke in die wêreld, in Duitsland, ander plekke, hoe mense wel teenstand bied, en ek dink miskien is dit daar die geluk van dat dit minder erg is of minder erg was, en die kontras is minder erg, maar in Suid-Afrika probeer mense nou red wat te redde is.
Baie dankie. Daar lê nog baie voor in vanaand se program. Goeie nuus oor die landbou. Ek gesels met die nuwe uitvoerende hoof van Agri SA oor die sektor se suksesse en uitdagings. Gister het die konstitusionele hof 'n saak aangehoor wat enorme implikasies vir vryheid van spraak het. Ek wil by 'n regskenner hoor wat is op die spel. En indien jy al tred verloor het met wat by SAL aangaan, moenie bekommer nie. Ons klaar dinge vir jou op. Dis hoogdrama en die tyd loop uit. Sien julle na die advertensies.